Imagine a football season in which the impossible happens. Giants fall, losers rise, and history is changed in ways that no one could have imagined. What if I told you that in 2004, a German club in the middle of the table beat Bayern Munich, a Portuguese team that no one thought would win Europe, and a team that had never won a big tournament shocked everyone by winning it all? What took only a year to happen? For those who are ready, let's take a deep dive into 2004, which was the strangest and most uncertain year in football history. Are you all set? It is inevitable that the year 2020 will be remembered as an exceptionally peculiar year for football, and for humanity in general, to be fair. This is true regardless of how the following 6.5 months play out. With leagues being canceled, the European Championships being rescheduled, and games being played behind closed doors, everything has been a little bit dystopian, hasn't it? At the very least, this peculiarity can be simply explained by pointing to COVID-19 as the origin of all the destruction. However, what takes place when strange occurrences take place, seemingly out of nowhere? It seemed as though this was the case in 2004, when a series of increasingly stunning occurrences took place over the course of a year that was considered to be one of the most bizarre in the history of football. Not going to believe us? All right, let's go back in time and take a stroll down memory lane. In Bremen, Werder achieved the double. In spite of the fact that they are now engaged in a losing battle against relegation, Werder Bremen was able to surprise everyone by winning the Bundesliga championship at the conclusion of the 2003/2004 season. The team that Bremen fielded was not very impressive on paper, and they did not possess the star power of the heavy favorites, Bayern Munich, who had ruled the league for a decade, along with Borussia Dortmund. In spite of this, Die Werderaner managed to secure the championship by a margin of 6 points, thanks to the incredible goal-scoring exploits of Ailton, who would never come close to achieving the remarkable 28 goals he accomplished during that respective season. There was no question that their unexpected triumph was not sufficient, as they went on to win the DFB Pokal not long after that. Their path to the championship game was peculiar. There's a twist, don't you think? In the end, they were able to obtain the trophy by prevailing over second-tier Alemannia Aachen, who had previously eliminated Bayern and Borussia Mönchengladbach in the rounds prior to their victory. They were successful in avoiding any games that were difficult. Their 2 victories came as a complete surprise, and the year 2004 had just begun to unfold in a way that was both beautiful and strange. In addition, Valencia comes out on top. It's possible that this double wasn't as surprising as it seemed, considering that it was Valencia's second championship in the past 3 seasons. Nevertheless, Los Ches finished 5th in the previous season, which was also during the time that Real Madrid's Galacticos were winning the championship. The team coached by Rafa Benitez had absolutely no right to win both the UEFA Cup and La Liga in the year 2004. Nevertheless, Valencia achieved exactly that, finally ending a full 5 points ahead of a Barcelona team that was in the process of rebuilding under Frank Rijkaard's leadership. Perhaps as a result of the strangeness that occurred in 2004, Valencia was able to accomplish this. The bleached hair stopper Santiago Canizares, the flying winger Vicente, and the mysterious number 10 Pablo Aimar were some of the major players for Benitez. The chief goal scorer, Mista, also had an outstanding season, and it was Vicente and Mista who scored goals in Valencia's victory over Marseille in the UEFA Cup final. Didier Drogba was a member of the Marseille club that Valencia defeated. It was one of the few instances in which the Ivorian player did not show up for a significant game. Arsenal, that is unbeatable. What makes Arsenal's Invincibles team so peculiar is that it has a few peculiar characteristics. On the most fundamental level, it is ludicrous to think that a Premier League team could go an entire season without suffering a single defeat. On the other hand, the fact that they did not achieve even greater success is maybe even more peculiar. They were the finest team in Europe in 2004, but their legacy was severely damaged when they were eliminated from the Champions League quarterfinals by Chelsea, a team that was essentially unremarkable. Arsene Wenger's squad was the best in Europe. Cup winners of the Champions League are Porto. During the summer of 2003, when the Champions League was first being played, it was unimaginable that Monaco and Porto would ever compete in the championship match. Didier Deschamps and José Mourinho, two up-and-coming managers, were the coaches of both teams, which meant that they were perpetual underdogs throughout the competition. Both teams came from leagues that were not particularly popular. It was certain that the game would be remembered as a sore thumb in the annals of footballing history, regardless of which of the four teams that had earned a spot in the championship game. Chelsea and Deportivo La Coruña, two teams with almost no European pedigree, were the teams that were eliminated from the semi-final stages of the competition. Another illustration of how 2004 was the year of the underdog was this particular event. As the match progressed, Mourinho's Porto took full advantage of Monaco's creative talisman Ludovic Joly suffering an injury early on and cruised to a 3-0 victory. The match itself was a one-way traffic. Following the success that Porto achieved on the club level, the European Championship in 2004 provided Portugal with the ideal opportunity to further solidify their position as the preeminent nation in Europe. Phil Scolari, a Brazilian major player who had won the World Cup, was in charge of the tournament, which was held on Brazilian land. Surely there is nothing that could possibly go wrong. Thierry Henry's unfairness regarding the Ballon d'Or. At the end of 2004, Thierry Henry was not one of the top 3 candidates for the Ballon d'Or. This was one of the most shocking and unfair events in the history of football. Even though Henry had one of the best individual seasons in club football history, he was passed over for players who, to be honest, didn't deserve to be ahead of him. Henry had just finished an amazing season with Arsenal in which they went undefeated in the Premier League, making history with their Invincibles run. He scored 30 goals in the league and was impossible to defend against because of how fast he was, how well he finished, and how stylish he was. His season was one for the record books, but it wasn't enough to put him in the top 3 for the Ballon d'Or. Instead, the award went to Andriy Shevchenko, who scored fewer goals than Henry, but was a big part of AC Milan's Serie A win. Deco got second place because he was so important to Porto's surprise win in the Champions League. Deco's nomination was reasonable, but Ronaldinho, who came in third, caused the real controversy. There have been some strange choices made by the Ballon d'Or, but this one is the most puzzling of them all. In a year full of strange football events, Thierry Henry's Ballon d'Or snub stands out as one of the worst. If you love crazy football stories like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on more amazing content.